Peace. This is Anpu with another video on Question Everything. On this segment, we're going to talk about the moon. Yes, that big celestial body that's in the sky that we see damn near every day, if it's not cloudy. So, let's question the moon. Everybody have questions about the moon. How did it get there? Why is it there? Is it artificial? Or is there life living on this planet, on this celestial body? All types of questions. So let's question it. Let's question on that. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I had my last video on astral projecting. During that experience, I saw two moons. One was a crescent and one was a full moon. And they were very bright. Maybe something is telling me to go in on that. Maybe something is telling me to teach the people a little something about the moon and its mysteries, because it's still a mystery still to this day. Well, first of all, we gotta look at the word planet. Okay, now the word planet means a non-luminous celestial body larger than an asteroid or a comet, and illuminated by light by a star. So technically, the moon will be really considered a planet instead of like a moon, like how Jupiter and Saturn, they have planets. They have moons. So you have many celestial bodies out there that have moons, even within our solar system. Jupiter and Saturn, and the rest of the other planets, they have moons. But when you look at the ratio far as the size, ours is so unique. So let's go into it. So the moon is too big to be a natural satellite on Earth. Like I said, to the ratio, it's too big. When you look at other planets and you see their moons, they really smaller. Because the moon is bigger than Pluto. Our moon is bigger than Pluto. Okay. The theories, there's many theories on how the moon came to exist. How it became our companion, our partner. And there's many theories that how something smashed into Earth and then created the moon. But scientists tried. They did the science on that and it didn't add up. Also, they claim that there was two moons and one crashed. The two moons crashed into each other and formed. That's why our moon is so big. But there are also claims that the moon is hollow, right? And before we even get on the claims of the moon, is also people still say that we never landed on the moon, and it's something we gotta question, is that why we never went back. We so focused on going to Mars, but why we can't just focus on the moon and finding something far as material or elements that we can use, or but why are we not going back? It was like that one period of time in the 60s that it was like the race to the moon, but some people say it was a hoax, so that we got a question. But in 1969, NASA had sent a rocket and it exploded on the moon, and it made a ringing sound, like a gong sound, like a bell. And this was one of their theories. They think that the moon is hollow, like it's artificial. So then they end up sending, I think it ringed for like 4 minutes or something like that. But then they, like 30 minutes. I think it ringed like for 30 minutes. Then they sent another rocket out there, smashed into the surface of the moon, and it ringed for like almost 4 hours. So that's something that we got to think about. And also the craters on the moon, it gives its characteristics. its mysterious characteristics. Now you can see that it's been hit by many asteroids and comets and whatever debris from space, and you can see these craters. The craters on the moon, this is the thing we got to question. Why is it that all the craters on the moon are the same depth? Now there's different size of craters. I can tell you that it's been hit with a smaller rock or a bigger rock or object. Now, why is it that they all the same depth? Now, you would think that you would have some craters deeper than others, but that's not the case. Now, that's something we got to question. Let me see. The scientists say that the rocks on the moon is much older than the rocks on Earth. That's something we got to question too. And there's also elements that are found in the rocks that could only be it's elements that we use to create nuclear weapons, and that element is only created by man-made creation. It's like you're taking certain elements and combining them, and you have this element. I forgot the name of it. I think it's it starts with a T. I forgot. But this element is also in abundance on the moon, which is interesting. Something to question. Now, the moon controls the tides of our ocean, which is very interesting. So every time, when there's full moons, this is when you get the whole story of the werewolf. When there's a full moon, the man changes into an animal and starts acting crazy. And at this time, when it's full moon, that's when there's a lot of disbalance. It's a lot of disbalance because the moon goes through many phases, far as shades, the way we see it, the movements. You have the half moon, the crescent, the wane, etc. New moon, full moon. So that is all due to the movement of, the earth, the moon, and the sun. But the thing is that the moon controls the tides. It pulls onto the tides, and it makes, it affects the weather. Also, the moon affects it gives us our 4 seasons, pretty much. They say, scientists says, because of the moon is the reason why Earth is on the tilt. But also, you have to understand that when the moon pulls on the water, the tides of the ocean, it affects us because our bodies are made up of mostly water. So therefore, when the moon pulls on the tides, it's also pulling on us. Now, your brain is made up of mostly it's like 70% of water. So you got to understand that the moon pulling on the waters of your brain, that's what makes people all out of whack. This is that whole werewolf theory. Now, there's a saying that there's so many different ancient stories that Earth was in a different position, billions of years ago than where it is now. That Earth was between Mars and Jupiter. And if you know the story of Nibiru had came into our solar system and smashed into Earth, and this is what pushed it in the position that it is now, which is between Venus and Mars. So you have Mercury, you have Venus, then you have Earth, then you have Mars, and so on and so forth. So scientists saying that Earth, like I said, Earth was called many names: Ki, Tiamat. But the moon, they saying that the moon was put there for a reason, because of the collision of Nibiru, which is in the stories of the ancient Sumerian text, it's a planet-sized spaceship, and these are the beings that had some type of doings when creating us. And the story says that they put this moon with Earth because of the collision, it wasn't going to survive because of the rotation and its position. So they said that the moon was put there by these beings to save it. Okay, this is where the whole theories of, is the moon artificial? Why is it there? And why is it so different than the other moons in our solar system? Other moons in the solar system, they rotate. Our moon don't rotate. It just orbits like a satellite, but it doesn't rotate, it doesn't spin. And this is the reason why we have, the dark side of the moon, and that's that whole mystery of the dark side of the moon, because from Earth we're only able to see the moon from one side of the moon, because it doesn't spin, it doesn't rotate. And but which is very interesting about the moon, that so in 1969, I think, the Soviet Union has sent a spacecraft there called, I think it's Luna 3. They took pictures of the dark side, of the far side of the moon, and they were shocked because it looked totally different than the side that we normally see. They thought it was going to look the same, because when you see the craters on the moon, when objects had hit the crater, lava came out, because scientists confirmed that there are active lavas. There was active volcanoes on the moon at one point in time. So when the craters, when the object hit the moon, the lava kind of like filled into it. But on this side, on the far side, the dark side of the moon the crust is much harder. It's a totally different color than what the side that we see. So the dark side of the moon is something we have to question. How is one side of a celestial body harder than the other? And also, astronauts like Buzz Aldrin, he even said that they saw UFOs while they were on the moon. They saw unidentified flying object, a UFO. And that was something that, that he saw and, told the government, but everything is hush hush. This is why I'm doing this video on the moon. There are more ancient stories that has been told in text. An individual named Lunar. Now this is where you get the Luna whole thing, and Luna is his daughter. So Lunar, he in the stories, in these ancient stories, say that he was a disagreeable. He was someone that was very greedy. Lunar wanted to rule all the planets in the star system. He wanted to rule everything. And his origin, he was from Pluto. And but the stories tells that he also had ruled half of this planet and the moon. And at that time, the moon was called Kingu. So he wanted to rule the whole universe, this whole galaxy, whatever. And because he didn't get it, by way of doing it was to try to destroy this whole solar system. And how he was going to do that is that he planted a bomb, plutonium element. It's like a nuclear type of bomb, and it blew up. And this is the story tells is why planet is on its tilt. Another story or theory or mythology, whatever you want to call it. is why the Earth is on its tilt, and it kind of blew up, but it didn't, blow up Earth the way he thought it would, because he wanted to blow up Earth and then have Earth go out into drift off into space and it cause a star holocaust, which is that all the planets end up getting pulled with it because of gravity, and just destroyed the whole solar system. And I think that was another reason why they put the moon there, was the whole situation, and they called it Kingu. And also the ancient stories speak of, the creation of the moon through the first, well, I can't say the first sun, but the sun we had before this one. That this is a binary star system, meaning that we have two suns. And scientists can confirm that as well. This is when you get into the whole series, the Sirius star system, the North Star, the Dog Star. That is our second sun. But before that, trillions of years ago, that sun had blew up. And this is another sun that was there. That sun had supernova, and that's what created, the planets that we have today. So yeah, that's another ancient story of the lunar, and then his daughter, I guess, end up taking over Kingu, and this is where you get the Luna from. And there are also, lunar deities that people worship still to this day. A lot of deities that people worship still to this day don't realize that its origin comes from the ancient stories from the moon. Even when you look at sacred geometry. Now, in sacred geometry, you have the square with the circles that fit in it, and it's supposed to form the body. But then you have the circle, the square in it with the four circles, and then the measurements between the circles. It's kind of hard to explain it because it's very hard to explain sacred geometry. I'm not that good at it. I wasn't that good at math. But the circle that's within the square, when you compare it with the ratio of the crown chakra, so now it will be a small circle on top of the square with the circle within it. When you look at the size ratio of that, it's the same ratio to Earth and the moon, which is exact, and that's when you get the measurement of pi. And this is the whole measurement system when pi was created, and it's just perfect geometry. How is it something so perfect in its position? Even the distance that where Earth is to the moon, the distance is just so perfect, right? And on top of that, when you're looking at the lunar eclipse, it shows you how perfect the position where the moon is, because the moon is basically the same size as the sun when looking at it from planet Earth. And this is what gives it the lunar eclipse effect. And that's something that we have to question. There's also been movies about the moon, and it's always about beings on the moon. I think there was a horror flick. I forgot the name of it, but there was a horror flick about the moon, and it was these alien creatures was trying to kill the astronauts, whatever. And then you have, there's pictures that surfaced on the internet showing images of, things that they can't explain. Castles and ship, buildings, and all types of stuff. There was structures there. So, the ancients, when you research the ancient stories and the ancient texts, they say that there was life on the moon. That there was life on the moon like how it is on Earth. There was trees, there was grass, there was waters. Yeah, I mean, they found uh, frozen water under the soil on the moon. So if there was water, then there was life at one particular time. Maybe it was a asteroid shower. That's why it got all these craters, and maybe that's what stopped the rotation of the moon. And then from this rotation stopping, and then the asteroids damaging it, maybe that's why life, had disappeared. Well, depleted, pretty much, and it kind of affected its atmosphere. It doesn't have a strong magnetic core. I mean, that is very obvious, because when the astronauts go in there, the gravity, they're able to float. So the gravity is so much different. But yeah, there's something that we have to question. The moon is something else. We see it every night. The moon could even affect our dreams. Who knows? Maybe this is what has been stopping me to move further with my astral travels. I don't know. Gotta question that. So there have been many astronauts, that has come out and said what they saw. It's very interesting. There's even a video that surfaced that they have found an alien that came from the moon. It was like in some type of spaceship, and they end up bringing the alien back to Earth. And this alien was a female, and she looked at like a melanated female, because she had like dreads. So that is also a mystery. Not sure if it's a hoax or not, but it's something to question. So the moon is a very mysterious celestial body. It has a lot of history. We don't know nothing about it, pretty much. Scientists say, that we rather say it doesn't exist. That's how much, knowledge they have on this celestial body. And there's also pictures of the moon. This one guy had studied the film, and it wasn't the moon. It wasn't the actual moon that caught his attention. It was something that was around the moon. And then when they did the film, because at this time when they took the picture of the moon, it was film. It wasn't digital, so they couldn't really hide much. And what he saw was some type of spaceship, outside of the moon, not too far from the moon. There are some people that came out and said they are beings living on the moon. There's people that say that we have humans, living in domes, living on the moon. So who knows? We don't really, nobody truly really knows. So this is why we have to question it. How did this moon, if this moon is artificial, then how did it get here? Who put it here? So there's a lot of information on the moon. Question everything. So another piece is this book that I brought, Earth, Palladian Keys to the Living Library. It's a very good book. Very good book. Almost finished with it. But within this book, spoke about the moon. And then the moon ties into the feminine energy, right? The moon, every time there's a full moon, is once a month, just like when a woman has her menstrual cycle, right? So the moon is considered a feminine celestial body that gives off feminine energy. So in this book, explains. It said that I'm just reading what I highlighted. I found it very interesting. At one time, there was forces of extraterrestrial intelligence that worked to activate feminine principles. This was done because the feminine ability to bring life and to feel, that is where the female association with the moon came from. There was an influence from the moon which transmitted a feminine energy program. The moon is like a big computer, so different beings and forms of intelligence can own the moon or have the ability to program the moon. They were beings who programmed the moon into a feminine cycle. This is remembered because it involved a loving and benevolent time. Then, of course, things changed. The energy from the moon has been beaming electromagnetic frequencies onto Earth for eons now to maintain the two-stranded DNA. Don't get mad at the moon for doing this. There is nothing wrong with the moon. It is only broadcasting programs. Like, this is kind of ties into are we in hell? Like, what kind of program is this? And here it is, she's saying that the moon is like a computer and it programs us, right? The moon establishes a breeding program within females. This reproductive cycle creates the possibility of producing children much more often than the solar cycle. Understand that the moon outlines your breeding program. However, as a species, you can move into a new cycle for procreation. This will help stabilize the overpopulation running rampant on the planet. There are fears today of doubling of the population in the United States in a very short period of time. You are already bursting at the seams. Over the next 50 years, there will be a different influence on the moon, and the moon cycles will change the Earth cycles. Everything is going to change dramatically. You have been available to breed every month. It involves a very different experiment if you are available to breed only once a year. The changes will alter the whole female cycle so that the rate of pregnancy changes. The current system does not work. You would destroy yourself overproducing. So that right there is very interesting. And here it is, she said that extraterrestrials' intelligence, basically is the ones that put it there. This is what she's saying. And she's saying that it also affects the women's reproduction. It's a program. And we have to question that, because when you look at today times, women are having problems reproducing. Women, back in the day, people were just popping babies like this. But now it's becoming a issue that now, certain medical procedures have to take place in order for someone to give birth, to produce a child. And now sometimes, we are putting our medical sciences, we going against nature. And then what happen is women are producing triplets and twins and all types of craziness. So, that's something to question and something to think about. It has to involve the moon. So like I said, there's many ancient stories dealing with the moon. And even, when you go into the stories of the Anunnakis, this is why NASA and them, they looking towards Mars, because the story goes is that, the first humans, or Homo sapiens, that were created, they were created on Mars first, and then transported from the moon, and then from the moon to Earth. It's like taking a train, it's different stops before you get to your destination. And it was the same thing with the Anunnakis when dealing with the extraction of the gold of this planet. So it would extract the gold from this planet, and it went from the moon to Mars, and to Mars and to elsewhere, to Ilium, to their galaxy Ilium, the 19th galaxy. So, these are things that we all gotta question. Like I said, times is changing. It's just a lot going on. A lot of UFO sightings still going on. A lot of abduction still going on. Even there was a craft. They said that the government has sent off a satellite, and it looked like a UFO craft, and everybody went crazy about it. But the thing is that it hasn't really been confirmed that it was a satellite that was being launched into space, because it just looked crazy the way it was being launched. Maybe it's a cover-up. And the thing is that someone had did the statistics on it. That day, hundreds of women has been abducted, missing in that region, in the West Coast. So that's something we gotta question. Were they brought to the moon? It's that feminine thing. I don't know. It's the moon corresponds with feminine energy, and there's a story of them finding an alien species that was a feminine, that was a female. It's very interesting, very interesting. Even this book, man, go get this book. This is a really good book, speaking about the Palladians, which is another extraterrestrial group. They have their involvement with us. Like I said, I'm always reading, always researching, So thank you for tuning in. I'm going to leave on this note. So next time, when it's a full moon, or when it is not a full moon, just look up in the sky and just question it. Whatever thoughts come to your mind, question it. That's what I do. I question everything. So this is Anpu with another video on question everything.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?